Hey there everyone, welcome to FJX 2000 Productions and another episode of Let's FJ. My name is Hayden, and in today's episode we will be looking at different types of FJ Cruiser builds. I hope this video will help you either learn about the types of FJ builds commonly seen in the FJ Cruiser community, or act as a guide to help steer you in the direction you should take when building your own FJ Cruiser. This is a topic that has fascinated me for a while now, and a few years ago I even posted the question in poll form on both the FJ Cruiser forums and in the Facebook group FJ Cruiser. In total, over 560 people voted, and the results are very revealing as to what types of FJ builds people preferred, with some folks not even realizing that certain build types existed. I will be covering these builds in this video by listing what modifications are commonly found with each build type and what types of uses each setup is ideal for. Be sure to comment below what your preferred build type is, if you believe I left something out, or if this video was helpful to you in realizing what build options are out there. Like this video if you enjoy this type of content on the channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. We are so close to the 10,000 subscriber mark, and once we get there, I have a special video planned. By subscribing, you'll know when that comes out, so thank you for your support, and let's hop into the video. Just to preface this list, I want to say that obviously every build will and can be different, and there really are no set rules or classifications for building an FJ that someone must abide by. Just because I categorize a mod or something into a certain build type doesn't mean it should only belong in that category. I'm just listing things off by what is most commonly seen. And honestly, there can be and is a bit of crossover between categories, which I will talk about again later. So just keep that in mind as I go through these builds, and I will leave timestamps in the description so navigating the video is a bit easier. The first type of build seen in the community is a pretty straightforward one, the stock build. Many folks who purchase FJ Cruisers honestly love the way the FJ looks and performs in its stock form. For them, it may simply be a unique commuter that they also enjoy the look of, but occasionally take on road trips or out camping. So lots of modifications just wouldn't suit them. For these types of builds, there may be some degree of accessories added, whether it be a limited amount of gear kept inside the FJ or even mounted on the OEM roof rack. But for the most part, these builds retain most of their factory parts, like bumpers and suspension, and perhaps venture into getting aftermarket wheels or more aggressive tires, either just for the looks or to handle poor road and weather conditions better. They may even have the tires for the occasional venture onto a trail, but again, these builds would stick with the factory-sized tires if anything. And with any type of build, including the stock build, there could certainly be electronics upgrades, like an updated head unit, CB radio, or engine and performance additions, like an aftermarket exhaust or cold air intake. But I think the major distinguishing factor with these FJs is they pretty much look like they did when they rolled out of the dealership. And for many, that's exactly what they want. And honestly, there is a case to be made for the FJ retaining more of its value in factory form than when it is super modified, so that is just something to keep in mind. The next type of build is by far the most popular choice among the FJ community according to my poll results, and that is what I call the Weekend Warrior build. This consists of the most standard and common modifications FJ Cruisers see, where the rig is modified a decent amount for off-roading purposes, but not too extreme since the FJ is still used as a daily driver. This is where the 33-inch tires and the 3-inch lift rules, as that is the classic combination that works wonders for the FJ and gets most people through some of the most popular trails out there. Here you will frequently see aftermarket bumpers, rock sliders, skid plates, or just anything to improve the FJ's off-roading capabilities while not being too outlandish or uneconomical. For more details about this kind of build, check out my Where to Begin with Mods video, either for the FJ specifically or the one I did oriented to Toyota 4x4s in general. This is the type of build I have on my FJ Cruiser and that I strongly recommend to anyone who is looking at using their FJ as their weekend off-roader but also wants to comfortably drive it throughout the week or on road trips without having to sacrifice too much in the way of fuel economy or engine power. The next kind of build is one that has gained increasing popularity over the past 10 years, and that is the Overland Build. FJ Cruisers built in this way are typically equipped with mods that aid in overlanding, meaning the FJ is built for longer trips, both on and off-road, where your FJ becomes base camp, and would not only be where you sleep, but also have all your necessities for survival. Usually, overlanding involves more mild off-roading, so this build typically consists of the classic 3-inch lift and 33-inch tire combo as mentioned previously, but the suspension is a bit more robust for handling the extra equipment being carried in or on the FJ. This is the type of build where we would see an upgraded roof rack with rooftop tent, awnings, dual battery setups, fridges, cargo boxes, and because of their utilitarian nature, usually bull bar style bumpers. Extra fuel and water tanks are commonly seen mounted outside these FJs, with some even going as far as installing dual fuel tank setups for extended trips. Like I said, overland builds are becoming more and more common, and the whole overlanding lifestyle is one of the reasons the FJ and vehicles like it have been increasing in demand over the past few years. The next type of build is one that I call the crawler build. These FJs are for those looking for a more off-road dedicated rig and are willing to sacrifice ride quality for off-road prowess. These are the FJs that we start seeing long travel suspension setups on, and that typically run without sway bars, again, so they can get the most off-road agility possible, and have maximum wheel travel and articulation available to them. This is where 35-inch tires become more common, with some even venturing into the 37-inch tire territory. But of course, bigger tires means more modifications to avoid serious rubbing issues within the wheel wells and especially at the body mount. Again, check out my recommended FJ mods video or my FJ suspension and lift series for more details about body mount chops and the intricacies of fitting certain tires and lifts. For the larger tires, this kind of build would justify re-gearing to stronger 456 or 488 gears, and the addition of a front locker for maximum off-road capability would be a logical one. Full armor protection is also a standard for this type of build, from front and rear bumpers to full skid plates and rock sliders. And though the type of bumper used is up to the owner, the more intense off-roaders usually opt for a lower profile bumper design that allows maximum approach and descent angles. Winches in the front bumper are also a good idea, as these builds are likely to be using them, but honestly, any type of FJ build could pretty much justify the addition of a winch for recovery purpose of themselves or of others. Before I go on and cover some more types of FJ Cruiser builds, I will just take a moment again to say that these builds don't have clear distinctions between them. There may be aspects of different builds that appeal to you or that you've incorporated into your FJ. When I presented these builds on the forums, some suggested their preference towards a hybrid of two different builds, which is something I actually see a lot. For some, their build may be a hybrid of the Weekend Warrior and Crawler builds, while for others it could be a hybrid of the Weekend Warrior and Overland builds. Though I mentioned my own FJ being more of a Weekend Warrior build, it actually probably fits into the Crawler Weekend Warrior hybrid category, since I run larger tires than 33s and have long travel in the rear, with extended travel in the front. So ultimately, you can add whatever modifications you wish in order to have an FJ that meets your travel and off-road goals. But this list of builds gives you an idea of what types of FJ setups exist and what they are built for. Moving on, the next type of FJ Cruiser build is the Baja Build. These FJs are built for blasting through the desert at high speed, so a power upgrade isn't an uncommon thing to see, with some supercharging the factory V6 and others doing full engine swaps for something more powerful, like a V8. When you think of Baja racing, you think of suspension setups that can handle a long range of motion and lots of dampening. The best setup for this consists of the 3.5-inch long travel kit, complete with fiberglass fenders to accommodate the extra width and wheel travel. For these builds, as well as more intense crawler builds, a roll cage isn't a bad idea. There could be a decent amount of custom work done to these FJs as well, including custom rear suspension setups that allow for even more wheel travel or the use of more beefy shocks, with dual shock setups being used for the front suspension. These are the types of builds and the type of off-roading that external reservoir shocks are designed for, as they allow for additional cooling of the internal shock fluids that are prone to overheating through such rigorous use. Many of these shocks come with adjustable knobs that allow for adjustment of the dampening and possibly other shock characteristics. Do note that external reservoir shocks can be utilized in any build, down to even a stock height FJ if someone really wants a higher quality suspension. Baja builds aren't incredibly common, but they are pretty sweet to see in action. The next kind of build is the solid axle swap build, which pretty much speaks for itself. These FJs are absolute beasts, and I've seen them running anywhere from 37-inch to 42-inch tires, but really, the sky is the limit with enough modifications. So much custom work has to be done for these rigs, but the result is the most off-road capable version of the FJ Cruiser you can get, ideal for rock crawling in pretty much any trail out there. These FJs of course have mods like bumpers, skid plates, rock sliders, you name it, but a roll cage is a must, as well as other reinforcements to the frame. These FJs are in a totally other league when compared to your typical FJ cruiser builds, but the closest an independent front suspension build can get to this as far as off-road capability goes would probably be something like an intense crawler build that has an aftermarket transfer case and long travel, especially with the new Marlin Crawler RC-LT heavy-duty kit that challenges the benefits of a solid axle swap, but I will let you do your own research on that if you want to learn more. Usually these builds not only replace the front IFS setup, but also upgrade the rear axle to something beefier. In order to handle the added weight of axles and tires, as well as the more challenging off-road scenarios this rig is likely to get into, these FJs commonly see upgraded transfer cases and drivelines, as well as power upgrades in the form of supercharging, turbocharging, or even V8 swaps. The next type of FJ Cruiser build is the mall crawler build. This is another build type that isn't incredibly common, but it does achieve the look some people really enjoy. Rather than being built for off-road practicality, these FJs put all their points into the style category. Large, flashy wheels and 6-inch lifts are often found on these FJs, along with other over-the-top mods that are mostly for show. I'm not saying all FJs with 6-inch lifts are mall crawlers, as I know some folks who do wheel their 6-inch lifted rigs, but for 99% of FJers, there's a reason 3-inch lifts are more commonly used in the off-roading world. Again, check out my lifts and suspension videos for more details. And the final type of build I wanted to cover is something I've seen popping up more recently from the Philippines, and that is the lowered or stanced build. These FJs, as the name implies, have a lowered stance rather than a lifted one, which lowers the center of gravity and makes them better suited for more aggressive street driving or even racing and drifting. Early on, the only lowered FJs were just in renderings and photoshops people would make, but then real stanced FJs began appearing, especially with the creation of the Street 63 FJ that was featured on Motor1.com. They have become more well known and particularly popular in the Philippines, with shops like Atoy Customs 4x4 building up several over the years. Even though the FJ may not be the vehicle that comes to mind with this style of build, I think it just goes to show that the FJ can act as a canvas for a whole range of different builds, and that you can ultimately build one up to whatever you want to use it for. I suspect some of these slammed FJs also have power upgrades like a supercharger to give them an edge on the track, but really, I don't know enough about them to say for sure. And that is my list of FJ Cruiser builds. There is of course a whole slew of modifications I didn't mention that you could probably fit into multiple different categories, but I just tried to cover the big stuff. Did you find a particular build that appeals to you or that your FJ would fit into? Be sure to let me know in the comments below. Links will be provided in the description for the videos mentioned, but please like this video if you enjoyed it, as it gives me a better idea of what types of videos I should make in the future. Subscribe if you haven't already, and thank you if you already are. I hope to get more FJ Cruiser related content out to you soon. But thanks again for watching, and until next time, take care.